I am live. I'm Pamela Deneuve, and I am so happy to be here. I coach lawyers. I've been coaching lawyers for 25 years, and I show up here every week consistently at 12:30 on Wednesday from 12:30 to 12:45 to talk about topics that are pertinent or important to attorneys. And really, they're applicable for everybody, but I like talking about these topics because this is what I do for a living. So today I want to talk about why we want to stop frustration from, robbing us of our life, our productivity, our happiness, and even our health. I was talking earlier on another live, another platform, but I was talking about how when I was younger, probably maybe 30 years ago, I was very frustrated. I was very stressed. I had a lot of things going. I had teenagers, on and on and on. I had financial stuff. I had career stuff going on. And I lost my hearing. I was suddenly struck deaf, and they could not explain why. In hindsight, now I look back, I know I was frustrated, I was stressed, and it was just like a volcano inside of me that just erupted. And the eruption was I lost my hearing that I still have. I'm still deaf in my right ear. And in addition to that, I have tinnitus. So that I couldn't even work for 6 months because I had no balance, all this stuff. But the thing is that when we allow ourselves to be silently frustrated and it boils and boils and boils, it takes a toll on our body, it takes a toll on our health, it takes a toll on our career. So want to talk today about how you don't want to allow frustration to be this killer. Hello, Sophia. I'm glad you're here. So let's talk about feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Um, what happens when we're frustrated? Well, the first thing is it drains our energy. I know when I've been stressed, it's like my legs each weigh 100 pounds. I'm pulling around this body that is just totally stressed and anxious. And so I've just robbed myself completely of energy by being stressed. So, um, are you constantly tired? When you go into the office, are you tired? Are you tired when you go home? Tired when you go to bed? Tired when you wake up? Tired at work? You're just a cycle of they're always tired. You're probably allowing frustration to take its toll on you. Frustration is like, any kind of natural body reaction that we all have, but the question I always want you to ask yourself, is there anything I can do to change this right now? Is there anything I can do to change this? If there is nothing I can do to change this right now, then why be frustrated? Why ruin my day? If I'm telling you, when we are frustrated during the day and then we go to bed frustrated, guess what? We wake up frustrated. And it doesn't just affect us, it affects our family members. Because if we're frustrated at work, then we're going to be frustrated at home. If we're frustrated in traffic, we're going to be frustrated at work. If we're frustrated with our spouse or our partner, we're going to be frustrated with our children. So it goes on and on. Frustration is like a disease that spreads. It's like a malignant tumor that spreads through everywhere in your life. So we don't want to allow frustration to steal our energy. The next thing is about it that we have to ask ourselves, is my frustration blocking my progress? Do I feel like I'm in a rut? Do I feel unproductive? Do I feel like I can't get my work done? Do I feel like I'm totally distracted because I am frustrated? Frustration will rob you of a whole day's work. You can find yourself getting more and more and more behind of your work. And guess what? You're going to be behind in your work. And what's that going to lead to? More frustration and stress. So it just feeds on itself. And so we're now more frustrated. Now more behind because we allowed ourselves to be in a rut. How do we get ourselves out of a rut? Well, we just do one or two things differently. You just think like Rome wasn't built in a day. We can't do all this all immediately, but there are things that we can do. So, for example, if you're in a rut, do something different. Maybe it's get up an hour early and go for a walk, or go for a walk at lunch. Do something. Call a relative or a friend who you're overdue to call. And that reminds me, I need to call my aunt. That there are people that are old and they're infirmed and we don't call them. That can lift your spirit. Do something. Read a book. Listen. I always advocate to my clients. I said, listen to music. Even if you're at work and you're working on a brief or whatever, maybe music is shown to scientifically change the state of your body from being stressed to being more relaxed. Then the other thing you want to do is you want to say, what's blocking my progress here? What are the things I'm frustrated about? One of the things I do is I go to the dollar store. Yep, I go to the Dollar Tree store and I buy index cards and I keep them. And so if you're frustrated about things, instead of keeping them bottled up inside, which is how I ended up losing my hearing on my right ear, was this frustration was churning and churning and churning. And then it caused a health problem, a health disaster. Actually, it was a health crisis. For some, it could be heart attack. It's for some people, it could be a stroke. So we don't want to allow that. Writing our frustrations down gets it out of us. So if you write down, I'm frustrated with my job, I'm frustrated with my finances, I'm frustrated with my wife, I'm frustrated with my husband, frustrated with my children don't do what I'm telling them to do. At least you are releasing those toxic thoughts out of your body and you now have it on an index card. I would suggest you do that every day. If you find yourself always frustrated, write down. Now you've got a diary, you got a record of your frustrations. Is what I was frustrated about yesterday, what I'm frustrated about today. Have I taken any actions, or I'm just sitting here feeling sorry for myself? When we don't take actions about things we're frustrated, we tend to go into a victim mode. And a victim mode means I'm hopeless, I'm helpless, there's nothing I can do to change this, I'm stuck. And that's not true. Even though we may not be able to change the circumstances right here and right now, there's always action we can take to better our circumstances. Sometimes it's just bettering our attitude. I remember when I was really young and I worked at the Directors Guild, and there was this woman who was my boss, and her name was the same as my mother, and it was kind of interesting, but she was a bully, and if she could find a way to bully you, she would bully you, and you'd feel really, really bad, and she would like go for the jugular when she was going to go into that mode. And I remember at that time I was a single parent. I needed a job. I had the kids. And I remember one day she came in and she was exceptionally brutal. And I remember I cried. I was at my desk and I cried. And I thought, okay, I can't leave this job. But I did change my attitude. And you know what? I changed my attitude. I said, I don't care what she says to me. I don't care. I'm not going to ever care again about what she says. And that completely changed it. And she never bullied me again because she knew I did my body language, my persona. Like, I don't care what you say. It doesn't mean anything to me. It's not important. I'm going to come here. I'm going to do my best I can do on my job, but I am not going to be caring and trying to cater to try to make you happy because it's impossible. This is your nature. And so I changed me, and I was happy at that job the rest of my years I was there. And she was happy with me because she knew that she couldn't bully me anymore. The other thing is we want to identify our sources of frustration. Now, I'm just going to say this, is that all of our frustration lies with us. We can point, whenever we point the finger, there are three fingers that are pointing back at us. So yeah, this may be the circumstances, person, or situation that has you be frustrated. But the question here is, what can I do to make the situation better for me? Frustration is like anger or whatever. You're like, if you're frustrated, you're drinking poison, which frustration makes your heart, your blood pressure, all of this. You're drinking poison and it doesn't affect anybody but you. It's not going to affect anybody but you. So you have a choice of like, do I do I change? Do I change my attitude about the situation? Maybe sometimes that's all you can do right then and there. And eventually you can change the whole thing. I eventually left that job and got a much better job, a job that I wanted to have. And I mean, not working the director's guild was a good job at that time. It's what I needed. The other thing, number three, is when we are identifying our sources of frustration, you know, sometimes we draw the line. I'm frustrated about this because of this person. What can I do? Then identifying what you could do differently can change a lot of things for you, because once you realize that you have some power, a lot of times we're frustrated because we think we don't have power. Just for example, like if you're frustrated in traffic and you can't make the cars move, can you? You ask yourself, well, what can I do to change this? Well, maybe I can listen to some music, or maybe I can listen to an audio book, or what can I do that's going to make me feel better while I'm in this traffic? So there's always one small thing that we can do that can help minimize and even reduce or eliminate our frustration. So if you're ready to turn things around in our frustration level, what are some things we can do? Well, for example, if you're frustrated with your workload, this is one of the things that I always have my clients do. It's like, okay, first of all, organize your office. And I know this like is counterintuitive, but let's see what's the deadline. Don't have, sometimes it's like an attorney can have like rattlesnakes over there because it's like, I don't know what's deadline. I don't know what's going to come up and be a crisis and that I haven't attended to. So once you have your office or your workload organized, then at least you know what to put first, what you need to be doing first, and then start taking action on those things. Sometimes just a little thing like coming in early before the phone rings so that you could get more done. I believe that we should all get our major work done before 2 o'clock. And I'm going to put a link in the comments about the 4 hour work day. But I believe that everyone, if they did these certain disciplines instead of being pulled over by email, pulled over by interruption, pulled over by distractions, by social media, and then all of a sudden it's 2 o'clock and you haven't gotten anything done. I'm thinking you should have all that done, all your major things done by 2 o'clock. So there's things that you can do if you really are serious about catching up on your workload. There's many things you can do if you're frustrated about being overweight. There's many things you can do if you're frustrated about your finances. Even though like maybe you can't make more money today, at least you can organize your finances. Then you can see what things you need to do. What are the actions you need to do to improve your cash flow so that you don't have the frustration with your financial situation. This is where I bring in getting a coach, because having a coach is kind of like you have somebody with a helicopter over your life, and they can kind of, say, okay, here's some things you can do. Here's some things that would be good for you to do. Here's some things that you can change. So a lot of times having an objective point of view is always great. And then the final thing I'm going to say is, how about imagining having a fulfilling career? It's like, what if our thoughts were magnets? There's sayings that our thoughts are magnets. So what if you had a thought about what I would like in my life? What I would like, how I would like my life to be. So if we're able to like do that, like say, this is how I would like my life to be, then you can kind of get a better perspective. Like, oh, I'm not stuck here. I'm not stuck in this job. I'm not stuck in this career, but maybe this is where I am today, but this isn't where I plan to be. And here's one action I'm going to take. Sometime, even if you don't like your job, just taking one action a month will change a lot of what's going on in your daily life, your daily thoughts. And don't minimize when you are frustrated. It affects your spouse, your partner, and your children. Desire a better work life, desire happiness, desire health, desire those things. Instead of, you can do those things, be grateful for what you have instead of blaming, being angry, and frustrated, which are thieves. I'm glad you joined me this week, and I hope that some of this was helpful to you. And I will see you next week. Bye bye.